Friday, April 7th, 2017, here on the Patriots Beat Podcast. On this episode, we break down all of the Richard Sherman news, and we'll also be going over the rest of the cornerback depth chart as we break down who are some of the draftable corners that the Patriots could draft. No guests for you guys this week. A pretty short show, but we'll have a good one just the same. Enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Patriots Beat Podcast. I am your host, Harris Rubenstein. Very happy to be with you on this glorious Friday. Obviously, it's a Thursday for me recording this, but go find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CLNSfans, and go find us on Twitter at CLNS Radio, and go find me at CLNS_Sportstein. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a very quiet couple of weeks for the Patriots. You know, all the Malcolm Butler stuff finally died down. You know, they signed all the guys they were looking for, this, that, and oh my God! The New England Patriots are rumored, and we're going to probably shoot down these rumors by the end of the episode, but the New England Patriots are rumored to be trying to trade for none other than Seahawks cornerback Richard Sherman. Now, if you ask me, this sounds like a whole lot of baloney, but we'll give you the full coverage. We'll give you the full, all the information that we know, as well as talking about, obviously, you know, go listen to the Red Sox Beat podcast, but holy crap sauce, is Chris Sale a good pitcher? Oh my goodness. Obviously this isn't a Red Sox podcast, but I think that just needs to be said before anything else is holy cow, Richard Sherman's great. But Richard Sherman, Chris Sale, both of them are insane. But let's get into the Richard Sherman news. Enough of the baseball. We're confusing ourselves too much. But the Richard Sherman news kind of came out of nowhere. We had heard a little bit about it a couple of weeks ago. There were just little blips on the radar about how the Seahawks were shopping Richard Sherman and that the Patriots might be interested. I think this was right around the time where we just started to hear about the stuff with Malcolm Butler going to the Saints and his anger with Stephon Gilmore, and then all of a sudden everyone was asking, well, who's going to be their other corner opposite Gilmore? And then all of a sudden, boom, someone dropped, oh, it might be Richard Sherman. So now here we are. So I believe it was Jeff Howe yesterday who sent the Patriots world into a spiraling descent of madness. He tweeted out that the Patriots were, in fact, interested in trading for Richard Sherman and tried to as well. And then there was a report that came out that said Malcolm Butler was okay with them trying to trade for Richard Sherman because him and Richard Sherman are actually buddies. So, you know, count me in the group of people that didn't expect Malcolm Butler and Richard Sherman to be good buddies. But, you know, you never know in this sport. Everyone's friends. So this Richard Sherman news to me is a load of crap. It sounds like the Seahawks and Malcolm Butler are using the Patriots as a way to put their message out there because, you know, obviously there was a report that came out this morning, obviously this being Thursday before being released on Friday. There's a report that came out Thursday morning from Tommy Curran that says the Patriots actually weren't interested. And then there was another report from the Seahawks, or from Pro Football Talk, that the Seahawks were looking for a player and a high draft pick for Richard Sherman. So very, very high cost for Richard Sherman, which, to be totally honest, isn't surprising at all. It's Richard Sherman. He's arguably the best corner in all of football, has been the best corner in football for about the past 3 years now. and, is on one of the best contracts in football. Despite whatever everyone wants to have an opinion about how he communicates with the media and how he treats people, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Richard Sherman is an excellent player. He's incredibly intelligent, I think has a great brand around him, and obviously he's just a guy that you'd want on your defense. Richard Sherman is a great player, and I think any team in the NFL will be lucky to have him, regardless about what you think of his actions or his attitudes or whatever. I'll take his playing style any day of the week. He's an outstanding corner, and he'd match up great alongside Stephon Gilmore. There would have to be some sort of nickname for both of them because they both have those crazy dreads. However, I don't know if they'd be able to come up with a nickname for them. But you want to talk about best secondaries in football? Stephon Gilmore, Malcolm Butler, and Richard Sherman probably takes the damn cake. I don't really think you can get much better than 2 top 5 corners in football and another top 10 corner. I don't really know where you play those guys. I don't really know how you divvy it up slot or outside or whatever. But having those 3 corners would obviously be absolutely excellent. And another thing that I thought was interesting, probably a reason that the Patriots want Sherman over other corners. He's an excellent tackler, and we all know how much Bill Belichick loves corners who can tackle. He unfortunately lost his favorite corner who can tackle, Logan Ryan, this offseason, but we'll definitely be interested to see what the rest of the offseason brings us. It's interesting to me, we'll analyze this a little bit. It's interesting to me that there's been so much, the total focus of this offseason on this defense has been the secondary, despite the fact that if you ask me, I actually think the secondary is the strongest part of this defense. I'm honestly surprised we've heard nothing about the linebacker position. They've only signed, I believe, 1 defensive end or just defensive lineman in general, and that was Lawrence Guy. I could totally be mistaken, but it's just interesting, you hear so much talk about the cornerback position and Malcolm Butler and Stephon Gilmore and who they're going to bring to replace Logan Ryan and Cyrus Jones and Justin Coleman not being ready. But, you go into the year, let's say even you lose Logan Ryan, you keep Malcolm Butler, but you're still going to the season. You're probably going to draft another corner. You still have Malcolm Butler at the 1. You'll probably have to sign someone for the number 2. You could probably get someone cheaper that you probably could have gotten someone cheaper than Gilmore for the number 2 spot. But it's just interesting that they spent so much of their time this offseason focusing on a position and a part of the team that last season was arguably the strongest part of their entire defense. I would have liked to see way more of a focus this spring on the linebacker position. I know they signed Donta Hightower. That doesn't really count to me because they had to re-sign him to have a linebacker position in general. But I just look at the depth behind Hightower, and it worries me. We'll see. I don't know if Van Noy can replicate what he did last season. He had a great year, no question, but it was only for about 8 games. He wasn't great in the playoffs. But again, Van Noy was okay. I think Shea McClellan is bad. I really don't think he had a good year at all. He had that one really cool play where he jumped over the center on the field goal attempt, which you can't do anymore because the NFL sucks. But, no fun for anyone. However, I don't think Shea McClellan is a good enough backup for what they're trying to do on defense. And then you look at then you look at Elandon Roberts, who, as soon as they gave him a legitimate spot on the defense, I personally believe that as soon as they did, he kind of flamed into the background. He didn't do anything. There was such an issue with him covering people. There's an issue with him missing his gaps. It kind of reminded me of Donta Hightower in his second year of football, where just no matter what he did, he just kept choosing incorrectly. He just hit the wrong holes. He'd cover the wrong guy. He was just, he was just in a string of bad decisions. And, as good as the flashes were of Landon Roberts, if you're the Patriots, you have to look at your linebacker position and go, we probably need to shore this up a little bit. We probably need to find a suitable starting linebacker next to Hightower. I just don't think that the roster of guys you have right now is going to make up for it. You have 3 guys who, if you had one really good guy, could do the same thing. And I know I brought up a lot last season that, it's really nice because you can take what Jamie Collins did and split into 3 people. It was really good in the middle of the season when it kind of confused teams and you're able to be incredibly versatile. However, going into week 1 with that being your primary second linebacker position, I think is much worse, because therefore if you're a team, you can game plan around that rather than being stunned by the versatility of the position. I know that's a little bit silly of a concept. However, I think it's been proven time and time again that the adapting of the NFL takes about 8 games. We saw it takes about 8 games or an entire season. Because if you look at the Patriots with their 2 tight end system, teams did not really catch on until the year after they did it, which was 2012. Because 2011, when they had Hernandez and Gronk, they were just unbeatable. But then 2012 came around. Obviously, Hernandez was gone, but that was when the rest of the NFL started to catch up with the 2 tight end position. So that's just one example, but there are a lot of different examples, I believe, throughout the NFL. Wildcat is one of them. It took a season for the NFL to adjust. So again, it takes time for these things to adjust. And I think if you're the Super Bowl champion, you got an extra target on your back, obviously. So more teams are going to be looking, all right, how can we exploit a defense last year that, while it gave up a ton of yards, did not give up a ton of points. And I think right now the biggest hole on this defense is that second linebacker position next to Hightower. Just any slot guy or any tight end right now is going to destroy this defense. Any good slot guy or good tight end is going to really do damage to this defense. So watch out for the Patriots to make a move at the linebacker position in the draft or right before the draft. They really need to shore up the position. I think a nice piece there could really do them well. We're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to do a little cornerback draft talk and see if there's anyone they could trade up. Like I said, unfortunately, no guest this week. We were going to have a guy come on and talk corners with us. I'm going to keep his name a secret because we might bring him on later. But unfortunately, he backed out on us. It's draft time, so it's a pretty busy time of the year. But we'll have him on either next week or the week after that. We'll see. But without further ado, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk about draftable cornerbacks. All right, team, welcome back to the Patriots Beat podcast. Let's break down woo, terrible way to restart the segment. Haha. Anyway, let's move on to a couple draftable corners that the Patriots might look to in the upcoming draft. Obviously, we're going to be stuck around the 3rd round. And obviously around the 4th round, since the Patriots do not have a 1st or 2nd round pick. So the first guy we're going to be taking a look at is Sidney Jones, cornerback from Washington. So Sidney Jones is one of the best corners in the entire draft. Outstanding career at the University of Washington. 10 passes broken up in his senior year, 4 interceptions, 45 tackles, and 3 forced fumbles. And then the season before that, 39 tackles, 6 tackles broken up, 3 picks, and 2 forced fumbles. Very good cover corner on the outside, can run with receivers, good feet, good agility, gritty player. I'm a big fan of his. He's not quite as good as someone as Marshawn Lattimore or Marlon Humphrey, but he's still very good. However, the reason that we are talking about him and he's not being talked about the first round of the draft anymore, Sidney Jones tore his Achilles while working out at his pro day. Now, that to me sounds like an opportunity for any NFL team to reach up and grab one of the best corners in the entire draft a little bit later. I think he's going to be drafted in the early 3rd round, if not the late 2nd round, right where the Patriots are going to be. And, what's great about him is that you could probably give him a couple of weeks to heal while you have Butler, Gilmore, and Cyrus Jones as your 1, 2, 3, which is fine. I'm okay with Cyrus Jones at the 3. I think he'll be a good cover corner next year. But this gives Sidney Jones a chance to heal, learn the playbook a little bit, kind of see how the secondary works through things, and then you bring him in as your number 3 or number 4 or your slot corner, depending on what dime or what nickel you're currently playing. So if you want a guy and you're looking for someone that is more of a stash rather than a day one player, then Sidney Jones is the man for you. I'm not going to talk about Jordan Lewis from Michigan. He had a domestic violence incident. The Patriots have made it very clear that they are not dealing at all with anyone with any sort of background in domestic violence due to one of the biggest foundations that Myra Kraft had during the time of her life. Unfortunately, obviously, as we know, she passed away, and it still is a big part of a lot of Bob Kraft's current foundation. So no Jordan Lewis for the New England Patriots, despite his the misdemeanor that it ended up being. They're not going to touch those guys. But a man that I want to talk about, and I swear to God, I've wanted this guy on the Patriots since his sophomore year of college, and that is Desmond King, a cornerback out of Iowa. Guy's a 2-time winner of the Best Cornerback in College award, except he had a really, really iffy senior season, but he had a great Senior Bowl. Some people think he might end up being a safety because he isn't very fast. However, I see an instinctive corner, great ball skills. I think that he can do a really good job as a number 2 corner in the NFL. He had 8 interceptions and 13 passes broken up in his junior year of college. His senior year, 58 tackles, 7 passes broken up, 3 picks and a fumble. He can kick and punt return. He's good coverage, and I also think he's a good special teamer. Teams generally avoided throwing his way in college. I think he's a very good guy. He's a little bit smaller of a corner, only about 5'10" or 5'9", 5'10", 206. And he only runs about a 4.5 40. But I look at Desmond King and I see a guy with instincts, and I see a guy who really just knows how to play the cornerback position. He has great instincts at the position. He has good ball skills, like I keep saying. And it's tough to find guys who are better corners than they are athletes. And I think that's what Desmond King is. And I think that's something that's important in today's NFL. It's always good to have, obviously, superior athleticism, but knowledge of the position is something the Patriots have constantly looked towards, especially when you look at a guy like Jordan Richards, Deron Harmon. Justin Coleman was lauded for his intelligence at the position coming out of college. So those are guys that the Patriots usually target in the draft. Another guy, and a guy that the Patriots have brought in for a visit in the past week, is Cameron Sutton, the cornerback from Tennessee, 5'11", 182, also ran a 4.5 40. So he had another guy who had a better year his junior year than he did his senior year. Very physical defender. Solid corner, 28 tackles, 1 pick, 6 passes broken up his junior season. He can do punt returns as well. He had an incredible, sophomore season, 37 tackles, 3 picks, 13 passes broken up, and 4 tackles for a loss. It was also one of the better freshmen, and he kind of, as he aged well, quietly was a very good player for them. He had a decent senior season, 8 tackles, 2 for loss, and a pick in 2017. Unfortunately, he only played in a couple of games. He was dealing with injuries. I think it was an ankle injury. He ended up having ankle injury, foot injury, some sort of leg injury. So another guy who will probably fall to pretty late in the draft. Probably closer to the 4th round, I think, for a guy like Cameron Sutton. Not incredibly proven. However, it's tough to draft a guy high, especially a corner, where he's coming off a pretty bad ankle injury that caused him to miss an entire season. But Patriots brought him in for a visit. I think what they're going to like out of him, again, very, very good tackler, very physical defender off the cornerback position. They love guys who can make good tackles off the edge. This guy seems to be a mini Logan Ryan, a little bit smaller than Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan's about 6'1" and about 210, whereas Sutton is, like I said, 5'11", 180. So Sutton is another guy who I think that they'll be very interested in, and obviously already brought him in for one of their private visits. So definitely keep a look out for him. So one more guy that I'm going to bring up. This is kind of a personal dude. We'll see. He wasn't great at the Senior Bowl, but I think that you throw on this guy's tape, and he is great. His name is Chidobe Awuzie. Chidobe Awuzie is a cornerback from Colorado. He's 6', 205, and runs a 4.43. He was incredible in his junior year. 84 tackles, 12 for loss, 4 sacks, 7 passes broken up, and 2 picks. And then last year, he had 65 tackles, 12 passes broken up, 1 pick, 4 sacks. This is a guy who is incredibly athletic, incredibly versatile. I think he's more of an in-the-box safety than he is a corner, but he has proven that he can cover. He has size, he has speed, and he has great ball skills. I think this, like I was talking about with Buda Baker on my Chat Sports segment, this guy, it looks to me as a Patrick Chung replacement. Great size, great speed, great athleticism, incredible instincts at the position. And I don't think he has the coverage skills to stay on the outside. I think we saw that he got a little bit exposed in the Senior Bowl as a guy who has decent coverage skills, but at the same time isn't a guy who you want to throw out there on his own on the outside. But however, I think that Awuzie is going to be a pretty good addition for any defense in the NFL. Very athletic, very versatile, and a guy that I think will match up very well in the NFL in that what do they call it now? The hybrid linebacker position, the Deion Buchanan, Patrick Chung, Jalen Collins position that has been mastered over the past couple of years. So those are the corners I think the Patriots need to look out for. Actually, one more guy. We're gonna do one more guy because I really like him and I think he's gonna fall pretty far in the draft. And that is Teez Tabor from Florida. Why is Teez Tabor going to fall? Because Teez Tabor ran a 4.6. Sorry, my girlfriend ESPN is calling me. Just kidding. Teez Tabor ran a 4.640 at his pro day. And if you are a team looking for a corner, you are not going to want a 4.6 guy who runs a 4.640. However, I believe that he's still going to be a very good outside corner. He's not going to be able to cover the fast guys down the field like the Julio Jones and the Odell Beckham Jr.'s, but he will be able to cover the Brandon Marshalls and the Alshon Jeffries, the bigger receivers. Guy comes in at 6 foot, 200 pounds, was a very, very good corner at Florida. 4 interceptions, 6 passes broken up last year. Great ball skills, superb instincts. My one problem is that he's not a great guy in run defense. He's not very aggressive, but he's an incredible cover corner. Again, a guy who more understands the position than he does having distinct athleticism. He does have a couple off the field issues, but I do believe that Teez Tabor could be a very, very, very talented guy to pick up in the 3rd round if he's still available. So those are my guys. Teez Tabor, to pull my list back up here, Teez Tabor, Sidney Jones, Desmond King, and my sleeper, Chidobe Awuzie, the cornerback from Colorado. So that's going to do it for me. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we'll close out the show and tell you what you guys can expect on our show next week. All right, team, that's going to do it for this episode of the Patriots Beat Podcast. Please remember to give us a rating and review on iTunes and Stitcher. Thanks again to High209 and Joshua Morse for the fancy schmancy music. And thank you, as always, to Nick, Larry, and Michelangelo. Next week, we transition away from defense and we go to the big uglies on offense. We're going to be talking a little offensive line, see who the Patriots might pick up later in the draft. We know how much they love bringing in late round offensive tackles. And boy, oh boy, has Dante Scarnecchia been busy. We'll tell you about all the offensive linemen he's brought in for a visit and a couple of late-round guys that the Patriots might draft. All that and more on the next episode of the Patriots Beat Podcast. Please remember to keep sending me adorable puppy pictures on Twitter. Remember, you can find me at CLNS_Sportstein. And thanks again. Where's my boy? I got to pull up his name again and give him another shout out. This guy keeps sending me pictures. And, you know, it's awesome. Where's his name? There he is. Devin Pride, DA Pride 93. Thank you so much for the pictures. Keep it up, man. I'm never going to say no to puppy pictures. That's going to do it for me. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Enjoy your weekend.